My wife is faking death on the hospital bed. I rushed right up and slapped her hard twice. I even called the organ donation department. Gonna give her a loving heart-to-heart extraction. In my past life, I was too wrapped up in grief. After I drank the water my wife's best friend handed me, I passed out for 3 whole days and 2 nights. When I finally woke up, my wife had already been cremated to ash before I could even process my grief. Debt collectors showed up at my door. That's when I found out. My wife owed tens of millions in debt before she died. They not only took both of my kidneys, they also forced me to work 24 hours a day to pay off the debt. In just 10 years, I aged so badly I looked like I was over 80. Right around that time, my wife, who'd been dead for 10 years, was hugging her lover as they drove past me in a luxury car. She laughed and tossed down 100 when, saying it was to thank me for my efforts. I couldn't catch my breath. I dropped dead right on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day my wife faked a heart attack. Looking at my wife covered with a white sheet in front of me, I sneered inwardly. If you want to play dead, then I'll give you exactly what you want. My wife's best friend, Wang Manyun, kept urging me to drink water. I snapped back to reality and looked at her. In my past life, I drank this very cup of water and passed out right after. I'm almost 100% sure. This water is definitely drugged. Their goal is to make me miss Liu Ruyan's cremation. I put down the water cup. Ignoring Wang Manyun's attempts to stop me, I walked to Liu Ruyan's hospital bed. I lifted the sheet. Liu Ruyan's face was still rosy. Her breathing looked steady and even. I was just too heartbroken in my past life, too stupid and naive, that I didn't notice this obvious trick. I raised my hand and slapped Liu Ruyan hard across the face. Liu Ruyan didn't move an inch. Looks like she was scared I'd catch her faking. So she injected herself with anesthetic. Wang Manyun let out a scream, thinking I'd found out Liu Ruyan was faking her death. Brother-in-law, even if you're angry, you can't hit her that hard. I kept hitting Liu Ruyan as hard as I could all over her body. Seeing that Wang Manyun was about to blow their cover, I started crying like I was bitterly disappointed in her. I told you not to stay up late all the time. I told you to go get a physical. Why wouldn't you listen to me? You left me all alone. What am I supposed to do now? Wang Manyun swallowed hard. She was totally stunned on the spot. I didn't bother arguing with her. I just took out my phone and made a call. Yeah, I want to arrange an organ donation here. The person just passed away. Hurry up and get here. Wang Manyun tried to speak up and stop me, but due to her status as my wife's friend, so she took out her phone and sent a message in a hurry. The organ donation staff arrived in just a few minutes. I put on a look of utter grief. My wife has always been a very kind person. With this unexpected death, I want her life to carry on in some way. I hope she can help save more people. That's incredibly noble of you, sir. I thank you on behalf of all the families you'll help. Which organs would you like to donate? I sighed and said, my wife died of a sudden heart attack. I don't know which organs are still usable. Just cut her open and check which ones are usable. Take whatever you need. If none of her organs are usable, then donate her whole body to a medical school as a cadaver for students to practice on. You can't do that, brother-in-law. Sister Ruyan never wanted to donate her organs. She told me that before. We have to respect her last wishes. Manyun, I'm Ruyan's husband. I have the right to make this call. You're just her close friend with no blood relation. Who do you think gets the final say here? I think you know the answer without me saying it. Besides, every minute you delay now is making the organs less viable. You're a doctor yourself. Don't you want to save lives? The organ donation staff chimed in too. That's right, Dr. Wang. Please step aside. There was no way Wang Manyun would step aside. She was so anxious she was practically bouncing off the walls. I already called Ruyan's mom just now. You have to let her see Ruyan one last time, at least, right? Liu Ruyan's mother, Du Xiaomin, ran over anxiously. The perm rollers in her hair were still there. She didn't even have time to take them out. Looks like she was in the middle of getting a beauty treatment. When she saw that Liu Ruyan on the hospital bed was still completely unharmed, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then she slapped me right across the face. Useless piece of trash. What bad luck did Ruyan have to marry you? You cursed my daughter to death. How dare you even want to cut my daughter open? If anyone dares to lay a finger on me today, I'll kill his entire family. No donation, we're not donating anymore. Go mess with someone else. The staff from the organ donation office felt regretful, but they had no choice but to leave. Wang Manyun finally breathed a sigh of relief, picked up a white sheet and covered Liu Ruyan. Du Xiaomin sat on the nearby sofa, pointed at me and started cursing again. You damn rotten man. You're not even sad your own wife died. Instead of arranging her cremation and burial right away, you want to donate her body as a medical cadaver. You want my daughter to be cut into pieces, don't you? If you want to be a good guy, go donate yourself. You can go die right now for all I care. I'll make the call to donate your whole body. I covered my face and sighed heavily. Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I just wanted to… You… Don't even think about it. Get the hell out of here right now. I'll take my daughter to the crematorium later. I shut up immediately. I timidly took the water Wang Manyun had just brought me and handed it to Du Xiaoman. Du Xiaoman didn't suspect a thing. She was tense and had been yelling non-stop, so her mouth was already dry. She chugged the whole glass of water in one go. Wang Manyun didn't even have time to stop her. Barely 2 minutes after she finished drinking, Du Xiaoman passed out. Wang Manyun, who had just stopped sweating, broke out in cold sweat again. She stammered. Brother-in-law, you're not gonna donate her organs again, are you? I shook my head. Laid Du Xiaoman flat on the sofa. Why would I do that? Mom already said no. Of course I won't do that again. Wang Manyun breathed a sigh of relief. Auntie fainted all of a sudden. It might be something serious. You should take her to the emergency room right away. I'll arrange Sister Ruyan's cremation myself. I looked at her with a half smile when I heard that. You got that backwards, don't you think? You're a doctor. It's your job to take care of the patient. I'm Ruyan's husband. It makes more sense for me to arrange the cremation. Don't you agree? Right after that, I called the crematorium and asked them to come right now. Wang Manyun was as anxious as a cat on a hot tin roof. She kept trying to wake Du Xiaoman up, but no matter how hard she shook Du Xiaoman, she lay there as still as a log. Until the crematorium staff wheeled Liu Ruyan away, Wang Manyun finally snapped, grabbed my sleeve, her voice hoarse. Brother-in-law? I think I just saw Sister Ruyan move. I think we can still resuscitate her. I shoved the death certificate in her face when I heard that. Manyun, think carefully before you speak. If Sister Ruyan really comes back to life right now, what kind of responsibility will your hospital take? What kind of responsibility will you take? This is murder. You're treating human life like dirt. I don't know if your hospital can stay open after that, but you'll definitely end up in jail. So think again carefully. Did you really see Ruyan move? Wang Manyun was completely frazzled. She had no idea how to retort. I let out a cold snort, shook off Wang Manyun's hand, and left with the crematorium van. Wang Manyun yelped, and immediately picked up her phone to make a call. I looked at Liu Ruyan lying on the stretcher, and couldn't help laughing out loud. When I saw Liu Ruyan's finger move slightly, it looked like she knew she was about to be cremated. Plus the anesthetic was wearing off. She was starting to wake up. Driver, hurry up, please. My mother-in-law is trying to steal my wife's body. She insists on donating her organs. I just want my wife to come to this world whole, and leave this world whole. The driver nodded in acknowledgement, and slammed on the gas pedal. In my past life, when I ran into Liu Ruyan on the street, even though 10 years had passed, her face looked almost the same as it does now. There were barely any signs of aging. I threw myself in front of her car to get her to recognize me, to make sure it was really Liu Ruyan, to tell her how much I had missed her all these years. Liu Ruyan squinted, and took a long time to barely recognize me. Then she said with a smile, Oh, it's you, it's only been 10 years, and you look older than my grandpa. My voice was hoarse back then. I was hunched over. I really didn't look like a 50-year-old man. I stammered and asked, Ruyan, weren't you dead? To get rid of you. I faked my death on purpose. Haha. Actually, Liu Ruyan didn't finish what she was saying. But what else was there for me not to get? If she'd just asked for a divorce directly, there's no way I would have said no. But if we got a straight divorce, I'd take half of her assets. And she'd also get the reputation of a cheating scumbag. But faking her death is totally different. Not only can she leave all the debts to me, and transfer all her assets too, she can even get a whole new identity, and have nothing to fear, and be openly with Jibota without hiding anything. I was so furious I couldn't say a word. But Liu Ruyan seemed pretty eager to keep talking. She said to me with a smile. Actually, back when we were in the hospital, I could totally hear what you were saying. I still haven't forgotten how loud you were crying back then. I'm really curious. How does a grown man cry like a squawking goose? Ha ha ha, that's so freaking funny, ha ha ha. I clutched my chest and collapsed to the ground amid her taunts. Then Jibota went, Whoa, babe. Is he trying to scam us here? Let's get out of here quick. Liu Ruyan also yelled that this was bad luck, and just drove off straight away, not caring at all if I lived or died. My last memory was watching the car drive further away. Then everything went dark. Now, staring at Liu Ruyan's pretty, youthful face, I lowered my head and buried it in her chest, listening to her steady heartbeat, and said everything I never got to say in my past life. I know you're not dead. Wageron cheated on you a long time ago. You even put on this whole act, just so you can run off with G Boda and live happily ever after, and leave me here to pay off all the debts. But I don't hate you. I've decided to respect your wish, since you want to be dead so bad. Then I'll send you to get cremated as soon as possible. I know you can hear everything I'm saying right now, but I'm not sure if you can feel pain. I really hope you can. That way you can feel what cremation is like firsthand. After all, people who get cremated alive, you're probably the first one ever. Liu Ruyan's fingers trembled slightly. She couldn't move, but tears were streaming down her face. I reached out and wiped the tears off her face. Don't rush it. Once you get into the incinerator later, you'll have plenty of time to cry then. My phone kept ringing nonstop. It was Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin calling, but right now I'm just a poor guy who just lost his wife. It's totally normal for me to not feel like answering calls, right? The driver was speeding the whole way. The trip that should have taken half an hour only took 20 minutes to get there, but there were a lot of people at the crematorium today. For Liu Ruyan's turn, we'd have to wait at least another hour. I frowned and went to find the person in charge. Then my expression changed instantly. I started crying right on cue. My wife died suddenly from a heart attack. My mother-in-law fainted when she heard the news. She's being resuscitated at the hospital right now. I have to rush back as soon as possible. Please let my wife get cremated first. I don't want anything bad to happen to my mother-in-law, too. The person in charge had never met anyone who wanted to cut the line for cremation before. I know you're in a hurry, but everyone else has been waiting for ages, too. I can't just let you cut the line like that. That's what he said, but he held out his hand meaningfully at the same time. I knew immediately he was asking for money. I pulled out my phone right away and transferred him 2,000 yuan. Please, bro, do me a favor. I'm an orphan. My wife and mother-in-law have always been so good to me. I really can't lose my mother-in-law, too. The guy in charge was moved by my sincerity. So Liu Ruyan successfully cut the line. She was pushed straight into the incinerator in less than 10 minutes, just as the worker was about to press the cremation button. I stopped him. I couldn't let him become a murderer. Besides, I want to take revenge myself. Under my strong insistence, the worker agreed to let me press the button. But right at that moment, we heard Du Xiaomin's voice from the door, along with Wang Manyun's anxious shouts. Stop right now. Don't do that. I told you to stop. Pull my daughter out of there. Wait, brother-in-law. Auntie still has something to say to Ruyan. Get the hell out of my way. I won't let you cremate my daughter. I'll do it myself. We're already at this critical point. These two still wanted to keep up with their fake death plan. I knelt on the ground and said sadly, Mom, Ruyan's already gone. Let's just let her rest in peace, okay? I'm Ruyan's husband. I'm not leaving here. Our argument drew a lot of onlookers. The workers looked at each other, not knowing what to do. What's with the sad drama act here? The crematorium is no place for you to mess around. He reached for the incineration button as he spoke. Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin rushed over recklessly to stop him. They looked ferocious, like tigers pouncing on prey. The staff member got a huge fright. He instinctively ducked to the side. Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin couldn't stop their momentum and landed right on the button. Stop right now. Don't cremate her. Looking for a luxury flagship full-size electric sedan and wanted at a budget price. Boom. Roaring flames instantly engulfed Liu Ruyan. Ah! Honey. Rest in peace. Boom. Roaring flames instantly engulfed Liu Ruyan. Ah! Two screams rang out. Everyone looked at Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin, but I stared fixed at Liu Ruyan inside the incinerator. The anesthesia Liu Ruyan was under must have worn off completely. I vaguely saw her open her mouth and reach out her hand, but sadly it was way too noisy outside. No one noticed what was happening inside at all. A little over a minute passed. Then everyone turned to look at the incinerator. The crematorium staff whispered to each other in confusion. This is the first time we've seen a body reach that high. Just like a living person. Good thing it's daytime. If this happened at midnight, I'd totally think the corpse came back to life. I wiped away tears that didn't even exist, and quietly pressed down the corner of my mouth that was about to curl up. Then I pretended to look heartbroken and said, My wife was always so good to her mom. She must have heard her mom's voice and wanted to sit up to see her mom one last time. Then I wiped my fake tears again facing the incinerator and said, Honey, rest in peace. Don't worry, I'll take good care of our mom. I'll make sure she reunites with you real soon. Wang Manyun ignored Du Xiaomin, who was collapsed on the floor, and stumbled over to the incinerator. When she saw what was inside, she was scared half to death. She slammed the incineration button like crazy. Why won't the fire go out? Put out the fire now. The staff had never seen such a hysterical family member before, so they quickly pulled Wang Manyun away. Ma'am, we know you're grieving, but what's done is done. She can't come back. If you keep acting like this, she won't rest in peace. Wang Manyun's face was terrifyingly pale. She plopped down straight onto the floor. It's over. It's all over. Everything's ruined now. Du Xiaomin crawled over to my feet on all fours. She grabbed my pant leg and cursed at me loudly. You bastard. You killed my daughter. Give my daughter back. I sighed, then pulled out the death certificate and said, Mom, I know you're devastated, but Ruyan's death has nothing to do with me. She died of a sudden heart attack. Ask Manyun if you don't believe me. She was the one who tried to save Ruyan, and she's the one who gave me this death certificate. I turned to look at Wang Manyun as I finished speaking. I almost couldn't hold back the smile on my face. Isn't that right, Manyun? Wang Manyun had no idea what to say. If she said Ruyan was alive, where did the death certificate come from? If she said Ruyan was dead, Du Xiaomin would never believe her. But after I said that, Du Xiaomin caught on too. It's you! You killed my daughter! My daughter was obviously still alive. Why the hell would you get a death certificate? Now she's been cremated. This is all your fault. Those words were so shocking. Everyone there was stunned. The staff's faces also turned pale. Oh my God. This is murder. When Du Xiaomin heard that, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted on the spot. I reacted immediately, and slapped Wang Manyun right across the face. Manyun, are you insane? How can you joke about something like that? My wife is dead, gone forever. Why are you talking nonsense? Wang Manyun was stunned by the slap. The nearby staff also thought Wang Manyun was just making sick jokes, and went back to their work. Once Liu Ruyan's cremation was fully completed, I put on a super angry expression, took Liu Ruyan's ashes and left the crematorium. Before I left, I made sure to tell Wang Manyun one more thing. You scared Mom unconscious for no reason. You take her to the hospital. It's not that I don't want to stay and watch the drama unfold. It's just that I have other, more important things to get done. When I got home, I casually put Liu Ruyan's ashes in a prominent spot in the living room. Then I immediately contacted a lawyer to start handling the inheritance of Liu Ruyan's company, estate, and other related matters. In my past life, I was too devastated. By the time I snapped out of it, the company was gone. If I don't act fast this time around, when Du Xiaomin wakes up, she'll definitely beat me to it. Lawyer Chen, Ruyan passed away very suddenly. But she mentioned some things to me before she died, about family trusts and overseas accounts. I want you to use all your connections to find out for me within 48 hours the actual transaction records under her name. Chen Jianzhang on the other end of the line hesitated a bit. Mr. Lin, according to the current public records, Ms. Liu only has a few properties under her name and that nearly bankrupt consulting firm. On top of that, there's tens of millions in debt, right? Lawyer Chen. Liu Ruyan is a woman who's shrewd to the core. She'd rather fake her own death than get a divorce, which means the assets she's trying to protect are far more than that tens of millions in debt. Look into it for me. I'll triple your commission. A handsome reward always brings out the bold. The next afternoon, I received an encrypted email from Lawyer Chen, just as I expected. Liu Ruyan used her so-called medical consulting firm to carry out long-term money laundering and asset transfer operations. She used Wang Manyun's identity as a doctor to buy a large number of illegal prescription drug formulas and registered them under several offshore companies. What's even more ironic, I found a secret safe. It's located in that rundown garage. When I pushed open that rusty rolling shutter door, a wave of mildew smell hit me right in the face. In this corner I never set foot in my past life. I pried open a hidden compartment. There were no jewels inside, only stacks of neatly arranged cash, and a few digital currency storage devices. Tens of millions in debt, huh? Liu Ruyan, you plan to make me take on your debt and struggle in hell, while you take these tens of millions worth of Bitcoin abroad to live happily ever after with Ji Boyuan. I counted it up. The cash here alone is over 2 million yuan. I didn't rush to deposit it in the bank. Instead, I contacted several lending companies that Liu Ruyan owed the most money to deal with those ruthless loan sharks. The best way isn't to hide, it's to buy them off. I arranged to meet the heads of those companies at a high-end private club. Everyone Liu Ruyan has been cremated. Here's the death certificate. I'm sure you've all heard the news. Mr. Lin, debt doesn't disappear when someone dies. You're the first heir. You have to pay this money back. I never said I wouldn't pay it back. Here's 2 million yen. As a gesture of good faith, I'll pay part of the interest first. For the remaining debt, after I take over Liu Ruyan's company, I'll pay you back through legal equity pledge. But there's one condition: Liu Ruyan's mother, Du Xiaomin, and that man named Ji Boda. They probably still have some of Liu Ruyan's private savings in their hands. They're spreading rumors everywhere saying I murdered her, to try and take the inheritance for themselves this way. If they succeed, you probably won't get a single cent of this money. Huh. What do you mean, Mr. Lin? Don't let them interfere with my debt repayment plan. And while you're at it, make them feel what it's like to be hounded for debt. Since they want evidence, I'll let them drown in the quagmire of debt first. Liu Ruyan's company is called Ruyan Trading. It sounds elegant by the name, but it's actually a filthy empty shell. On the first day of taking over the company, I brought 12 burly security guards with me. The finance director, Wang Qin, who is Wang Manyun's cousin, was holding a stack of documents at the time, her face deathly pale. Mr. Lin, this isn't very proper, is it? Ms. Liu just passed away, and you're making such a big fuss. To fire us old employees? Proper. You embezzled 380,000 yuan of public funds and falsified input invoices, Director Wang. Do you want to talk about rules with me, or do you want to talk to the Economic Investigation Squad? I'll give you half an hour to copy all emails and transaction records between Liu Ruyan and Ji Boda from your computer. If you do this well, I'll write off that 380K as your severance pay. If you don't, you'll go to jail to keep your cousin company. In just 20 minutes, I got everything I wanted. Among them is evidence that Liu Ruyan illegally transferred assets to Ji Boda and electronic contracts for the properties they bought abroad. These were originally the chips Liu Ruyan planned to restart her life with after faking her death. Now they have all become sharp weapons for me to accuse them of fraud and property embezzlement. The sky was overcast. I stared at the constantly fluctuating balance in my bank account and felt no emotion at all. The fixed assets under Liu Ruyan's name, the digital assets in her cold wallet, plus the equity after the company restructuring, have a total value of over 50 million yuan. As for that multi-million debt, through my arrangements, it has been classified as Liu Ruyan's personal fraud debt. Since the party involved is deemed deceased, and her assets have been liquidated to pay off debts, all the remaining bad debt was pushed onto Du Xiaomin, who acted as the guarantor. This is the last big gift I got for you, honey. Thank you so much. Now I have money, a house, and a company. I will try my best to live a super cool life from now on. Way cooler than you were in your past life. I got completely wasted and passed out right on the couch. I didn't wake up until someone knocked on the door the next day. I rubbed my throbbing, hungover head and opened the door. Outside stood Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin, plus a man who looked a few years older than me. Judging by his looks, he's the Ji Boda I met in my past life. His face was full of grief and anger. He was holding the hand of a boy around 6 or 7 years old. The boy looked very much like Liu Ruyan. Is this their illegitimate child? No wonder Liu Ruyan refused to have kids after we got married. She had already had a child with Ji Boda a long time ago. All three of them looked devastated, with really heavy dark circles under their eyes. Several police officers were standing behind them. Officer, this is the guy. He cremated my daughter while she was still alive. Arrest him right now. Cremate him too. Let him taste what that feels like. I had long guessed this little drama would happen. I just didn't expect it to come so soon. I pretended to sigh helplessly and said, Mom, can you stop making such stupid jokes? I pulled out the death certificate as I spoke. Officer, this is my wife's death certificate. My mom can't accept my wife's passing. She's probably not in her right mind right now. There's nothing wrong with this document. I sighed and continued. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. We've had a really great relationship this whole time. After my wife passed away, I didn't want her body to decompose. So I had her cremated immediately. Did I do something wrong here? Du Xiaomin clutched her chest and yelled, Bullshit. My daughter got sick of you ages ago, you boring loser. If Boda could have gotten a divorce back then, how would Ruyan ever have married you on a whim? You did this on purpose. You cut the line to cremate her on purpose. just to get my daughter's inheritance in her company. I contacted the company staff yesterday and confirmed this. What else do you have to say for yourself? I put on a shocked, disbelieving look, my eyes red as if I was about to cry. Mom, you can scold me all you want, but Ruyan and I truly loved each other. If we didn't have real feelings for each other, why would she make me the sole heir to her entire estate? You say Ruyan is still alive, then why don't you think about this? That's such a big hospital. How could they not tell if a person is alive or dead? Manyun told me herself that Ruyan was brain dead, and her heart had stopped beating. What living person is like that? Du Xiaomin gestured for Wang Manyun to speak up, but Wang Manyun just kept her head down. That makes sense, honestly. If she admits the death certificate is fake now, she'll be in huge trouble. She's better off sticking to the story. The scene immediately fell into a deadlock. Jibota tugged at Du Xiaomin's sleeve. Du Xiaomin stopped talking. He sighed. Ruyan really isn't dead. I'm Ruyan's boyfriend. Ruyan and I broke up over a misunderstanding years ago. She married you on impulse. I got divorced this year and came to find Ruyan with our child. Ruyan realized she still loves me, so she planned to fake her death to leave you. We never expected that you would cremate her right away, but don't blame Ruyan for this. She only did this because she didn't want to hurt you. She's a kind person. Now that Ruyan is gone, we just hope you can accept this child and give him the inheritance he deserves. I took a sip of water and mimicked Du Xiaomin's tone. Bullshit. Mom, I know you and Ruyan don't get along at all. Ruyan didn't leave you a single cent in her will before she died. So you just brought this kid you found out of nowhere to frame Ruyan, huh? You're trying to get a cut of Ruyan's inheritance, right? Du Xiaomin was so mad she almost choked. But for the sake of money, she still managed to calm herself down. Bullshit. Ruyan and I get along perfectly fine. This is definitely Ruyan's kid. I know that for a fact. I directly took out Liu Ruyan's will. Mom, why are you lying? If you and Ruyan really get along so well, why isn't your name even on this will? Why is all the inheritance left to me? Du Xiaomin was left speechless. Jibota was still hesitating. After all, he couldn't just come out and say that Liu Ruyan made the will in my name, just to make me take on her debts, right? I glanced at the kid standing behind Jibota and sneered in my heart. No wonder she pretended to be a good wife for 3 years and suddenly stopped putting on the act. Turns out her first love and son are back. But I didn't feel sad at all. After all, I've already died once before. I said with a completely normal expression, you say this kid is Ruyan's? Then show me proof. Like a legally recognized paternity test. Or a birth certificate. Jibota and Du Xiaomin both said at once. They don't have any paternity test because the kid was born at home. So there's no birth certificate either, but the kid is definitely Ruyan's. Officer. Do you see what's going on here? They know my wife has already been cremated. So they deliberately brought a random kid here to claim the inheritance. They even spout nonsense saying I cremated my wife on purpose. But what they're saying is totally contradicting itself left and right. Du Xiaomin said anxiously. I can do a DNA test with the kid to prove I'm his maternal grandma. Wouldn't that prove he's Ruyan's kid too? The officer shook his head. That doesn't count. This only proves you and the kid are related. But your biological relationship with Liu Ruyan hasn't been proven yet. Even if it was proven, there's no way to confirm that you and your husband only had Liu Ruyan as your only child. I held back my laughter. Actually, the main reason I insisted on cremating Liu Ruyan was mostly because I was worried about this exact situation. I didn't expect my bet would actually pay off. Du Xiaomin and Jibota looked at each other. Jibota gritted his teeth. No matter who the kid belongs to, Ruyan is definitely not dead. He's the one who cremated Ruyan. He's a murderer. He can't inherit Ruyan's estate. What Jibota said is technically true, but only if you can prove that I am the murderer first, right? I suddenly looked at Wang Manyun. Manyun, you tell us, is Ruyan alive or dead? You're a doctor. You have a family, too. Think carefully before you speak. You might not remember, but I sure do. You and Mom were the ones who rushed up and pressed the incinerator button back then. If Ruyan is really alive, then you and Mom are the murderers. I twisted the fact that they tried to stop me back then into them deliberately pressing the button. Du Xiaomin didn't even get to say bullshit. When Wang Manyun said through gritted teeth, Sister Ruyan is really dead, I breathed a sigh of relief. But Jibota held up his phone. I knew you would lie a long time ago. So I brought evidence. Jibota played the video on his phone. The video showed Jibota, Liu Ruyan, Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin, 4 people sitting on the couch discussing faking Ruyan's death. Liu Ruyan's voice came from the phone, as disgusting as I remembered from my past life. When the time comes, I'll take an anesthetic. You find a way to knock my husband out. Then tell him I've already been cremated. I'll give you 1,000,000 yuan when this is done. But this surveillance footage isn't complete. It doesn't include the part where the four of them discussed how to make me take on all the debts. Wang Manyun squatted down, completely lost for how to defend herself. I don't know anything about this. Jibota seemed to let out a sigh of relief. I didn't lie to you, really. You really did kill Ruyan. So you should go to jail? And all this inheritance should belong to Auntie. I acted like I was scared and said nothing. After I got my emotions together for a bit, I looked completely devastated. This is absolutely outrageous. Officer, I need to report a crime. The three of them faked my wife's death on purpose and kept it from me the whole time. I was completely devastated back then. I was too grief-stricken to think straight. I just thought my wife was gone. Those two knew perfectly well that I was going to donate my organ to my wife and that I planned to cremate her. But they deliberately hid it from me, that my wife wasn't actually dead at all. They did this totally on purpose. They wanted me to cremate my wife intentionally, then show up with their people to seize our property. I believed my wife had passed away, so I followed the standard procedure to cremate her. How is that even my fault? It obviously isn't. The two of them didn't expect me to be so clear and articulate. They thought I'd break down completely when I found out, and let them lead me around by the nose. But I've already died once before. I'm not that naive, stupid fool I was in my past life anymore. The very moment I woke up, I had already planned out every single step I would take next. I was so sad my throat went completely hoarse. Back then when I was going to donate my organ, Mom, you were right there. When you stopped me from donating, why didn't you tell me the truth? If you just wanted a divorce, why would I ever say no to that? It's obviously all you people. You deliberately tricked Ruyan, made her buy all your nonsense, and choose to fake her death, just to make me the monster who sends his own wife to the crematorium. How can you be so cruel? That's because Ruyan said we had to make you fully believe it. So I had to stop you from donating your organ. I didn't dare tell you the truth. What about this then? On my way to the crematorium, you called me, which means you knew I was going to cremate Ruyan. I was too heartbroken to answer the call back then. Why didn't you send me a text message? Also, when we arrived at the crematorium, Ruyan clearly hadn't been cremated yet. Why didn't you tell the truth then? Instead, right in front of everyone, you deliberately pressed the cremation button. Du Xiaomin and Wang Manyun were left speechless, but I know exactly why they did it. They were confident they had enough time. If they just distracted me for a little while at the crematorium, their whole plan would work out perfectly. You know what they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. This whole farce didn't come to any conclusion in the end. Each side stuck to their own story, claiming they were the one in the right. The police had to take all of us back to the police station and detain us temporarily for further investigation. But after a few days of investigation, they found I was really just a very devoted and innocent husband. I had no clue at all that Liu Ruyan was cheating on me. I never questioned Liu Ruyan about her business trips or work events. I never even checked her phone. They also interviewed all my neighbors, my friends and my colleagues, and checked the home security footage from when Liu Ruyan was alive. They confirmed we were a deeply affectionate, happy couple. We never even had a single fight. And of course, the police had no way of knowing I was reborn. Judging only from the evidence they had on hand, how could a husband like me kill his own wife for no reason at all? While the statements from Du Xiaomin, Wang Manyun, and Jibota were full of obvious loopholes, they had countless opportunities to tell me that Liu Ruyan wasn't dead. But they waited until I had already cremated Liu Ruyan to speak up. Especially Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin. They clearly saw Liu Ruyan go into the incinerator and still refused to tell the truth. They even pressed the button with their own hands, even though they claimed it was an accident. Who would actually believe that? That's not even the worst part. The whole fake death plan from the start was already completely absurd and unbelievable. So the final investigation result was that I was just an innocent grieving man who lost his wife, while the other three were jailed on suspicion of murder after they were released on bail. Du Xiaomin and Jibota refused to accept this result. They kept sending people to harass me every other day. First, they complained to the property management. Then they called the police on me. But they stuck to me like a stubborn piece of gum. They just wouldn't leave me alone. I had no other choice in the end. I directly used Liu Ruyan's inheritance to hire 100 bodyguards. I gave them clear orders that if anyone comes to cause trouble again, except for these two shameless people, beat the living daylights out of everyone else. I'll pay for whatever medical bills come up. After a few rounds of this, Du Xiaoman and Jiboda were totally fine, of course. But all the other people they talked into, coming over got seriously hurt. They basically covered the hospital's entire monthly KPI all on their own. In the end, no matter how much Du Xiaoman and Jiboda tried to persuade people, no one was willing to go cause trouble with them anymore. The two of them flew into a useless rage. They could only hope to kill me with their angry stares. I'm loving watching them make fools of themselves. I enjoy my life right in front of their faces. Fine champagne and good wine, sports cars and beautiful women. I made up for all the regrets I had in my past life. Du Xiaoman and Jiboda were so mad they could grind their teeth. Until 3 months later, the court verdict was announced. All three were found guilty of murder. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. When the police showed up with an arrest warrant, Du Xiaoman put on a whole dramatic show right then, of threatening to kill herself over nothing. She climbed onto the balcony and threatened to jump off, yelling that I was murdering my own wife, that I was worse than a beast, that I'd go to hell after I die. She also accused the police of bending the law for personal gain and treating human lives like trash. More and more onlookers gathered downstairs to watch the drama. Du Xiaoman thought she saw a glimmer of hope. She tried to rile up the crowd to stand up for her. She spoke with great emotion and drama, sobbing uncontrollably the whole time. Until an hour later, someone said in a lazy, sarcastic voice, "Are you gonna jump or not? Is this just a show? You're wasting my damn time." Du Xiaoman was so furious she jumped up, but her foot slipped, and she fell straight off the balcony. There was a loud thud. She died right on the spot, and Wang Menyun didn't have it easy either. After the whole incident blew up online, her husband divorced her immediately. He not only took their kids away, but also ordered the kids to cut all ties with Wang Menyun and never acknowledge her as their mother again. Before the police came to arrest her, Wang Menyun begged me for mercy more than once, hoping that for the sake of our old friendship, I would write her a letter of forgiveness. She said if I was willing to forgive her, she would do anything I asked. She didn't want to end up with her whole family torn apart. But when my family was destroyed in my past life, whoever felt sorry for me, she made her own bed, so she has to lie in it. The last time she came to see me, she stripped naked right in front of me. I laughed coldly and had 100 bodyguards throw her out. I later heard that Wang Menyun attempted suicide several times in prison, but none of her attempts worked. As for Jiboda, he was even more ridiculous. He actually tried to play the family card with me, saying that the kid was completely innocent, that I loved Liu Ruyan so much. How could I bear to let her child lose both parents and end up as an orphan? Besides, the kid was really smart since he was little. He could even help me run the company when he grows up. As for himself, he said he wasn't greedy at all. As the kid's biological father, I just needed to give him a few million for his retirement, and he promised never to show up in front of us again. So I smiled and said to him, "I've already contacted the orphanage. The kid won't suffer at all." After everything was settled, I fired the 100 bodyguards I had hired before and gave them really generous severance pay. There was one female bodyguard among them. She was not only super responsible at work, but her personality also clicked really well with me. Not to mention she was really good looking. I could also tell she was completely loyal. So I sold the old house I used to live in. I used the inheritance Liu Ruyan left me to buy a bigger and better located house. I moved into that new house alone with the female bodyguard. As for Liu Ruyan's ashes, I've kept them with me the whole time, because I believe her spirit is watching over me. I want her to see from heaven how happy my life is right now. Mr. Lin, what should we do next? This smoking hot female bodyguard, with sharp eyes, was surprisingly shy at the moment. She stood behind me, rubbing her hands nervously. I smiled. We're gonna answer the country's call, of course, and try to have 3 kids in 1 pregnancy.